Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Welcome, Plot Device, Episode 3. So, Andres, we have a bit of a new format because I
Okay.
actually have a bit of a schedule. We're going to talk about things to talk about, but we're definitely going to get off on tangents because that's what we do.
That is a problem, man.
It's not a problem.
No, it's not.
It's
a problem.
never a problem.
Okay.
But I want to start off with Attack on Titan.
All right.
Only because I read the latest, 2 chapters.
Okay.
I think it's 92 and 93.
All right.
What the fuck's going on?
Well,
I should give context. I didn't just read the last 2 chapters, the newest ones. I mean, I read up to, the reveal
right.
of the basement, because I don't want to give any spoilers. But, and then it started getting into weird shit. I just want them to fight Titans.
They're not going to be fighting Titans for a while.
Well, I mean, they kind of are. Kind of. It's kind of what they're doing.
Look, this is probably one of those kind of topics where you have to really give, I guess, so we should probably, give a spoiler warning, give a little bit of context to that.
Well,
Because, come on.
well, okay, well, I really don't want to talk about the plot of Attack on Titan as much as, the weirdness that the manga took. Of, alright, so we're going to start off with Titans as the main point. That's what's going to drive us. Oh, Eren got kidnapped. Time to go into politics. Oh, the politics are done? Here's the basement, and here's a 50-chapter flashback. And then they flash forward, and then they come back to the present, and now there's a war? Or is that also part of the flashback?
It's part of the flashback.
Is it?
Well,
but they're
part of
using
it-
the same
alright.
people's names.
Yeah. Part of it's part of the flashback, and then part of it's, they've caught up to current times. It's a really
But
awkward
there's still
format.
I don't like it.
It's
I'm taking my shirt off. It's too hot.
because there has always been a war.
Is that
Because
the
the-
backline thing? There's
The
war's
back line
always
is that
been
the
happening.
war has always been happening, basically.
Okay.
And Titans are just a really special part of that. And then the more politics we kind of get into, the more and more we begin to realize that things aren't as they seem, and that
China.
China might have been right for being like, "Hey, this is dangerous." For
China.
Yeah. Haven't you ever heard about how apparently China really didn't like Attack on Titan because it was just like, oh, it's allegorical. The people will rise up. And I really thought that was kind of bullshit after watching the first season,
the people
reading some of
rise
the
up
manga.
because of their
But the
crushed
more-
religion.
The more and more that you kind of get into the more recent ones, it's like, yeah, maybe there is something there. Maybe not trying to be preachy with it, but there's definitely more to that than just being like, hey, we need to fight these things made of meat, taller than us, bigger than us.
Well, I would have liked the plot to go in a different place other than downtrodden race of people. Because my question is alright, you know what? Fuck it, spoilers. I don't know. Well, the thing is with spoilers on this is I got to give a time frame. I got to have a timer.
Sure.
Because it's if someone actually listens, you know what? Why don't we just save this for the last bit?
All right.
Because that way,
All right.
We'll
Spoilers at the very end.
we'll talk about spoilers shit at the very end of the game. Game? The end of the podcast.
End of the podcast.
We'll just move on to the second docket.
Sure.
Part of the docket.
Sure.
So, I want to talk, speaking of Attack on Titan, the way they
Okay.
have their characters, I want to talk about versions of characters.
Okay. What do you mean by versions, though?
The different iterations characters take as the story progresses.
All right.
Like JoJo.
Okay.
JoJo's a really good example. Because characters stick around, they just get older. Especially Joseph.
Yeah, people get
Joseph
old.
has 3 versions. In part 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. That's kind of appealing in some ways because then you're going to see somebody. They're going to see somebody that you already know.
Yeah.
They're going to be a little bit more different, and you're going to just see them seeing other people. I guess.
Well, I guess the big thing is with versions of characters, are they usually better? As the story progresses, or are they usually at their peak when they first show up? Because for me, Joseph, my favorite version of Joseph is when he first shows up. I mean, that's not really fair because he's like the main character of part 2 of JoJo.
And it is a little bit unfair in JoJo's in general because it's like the main character is going to do the most, going to do the best.
But I still really like him in part
problems.
3.
Yeah.
He's really good in part 3.
Part 3. I think part 3 is the best.
Really?
Best version of him, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, he does lose like part of
English?
his edge with like the style, but like in the end, you know, he still does show savviness every so often. Like he's creative. He uses his ability to do the whole tar thing.
He hardly changes. He just gets older, and he's not as good. But
I mean,
he's
yeah,
still
he's
really
not as good, but he still like works with what he has,
Oh,
and
it's
then he just
great.
like proves that he's got it.
Plus, he has great English.
Mm.
The dude who's been living in America for so long.
Dude, that's just the Japanese, man. That's just
I
the
love
Japanese
it.
trying
It's
to do
so
it.
good. I don't want it to ever get dubbed because I feel like it's going to lose its charm.
I think it's already dubbed. It's probably already dubbed
Yeah,
by
you're
now.
probably right. Fuck. We should watch it. We should watch an episode of the dub just to see. I want to know.
Yeah, but like I've seen like this actual complaint from like other YouTubers too about how somebody like in Netflix, like Netflix series, they want to show that somebody's really smart, really savvy, so they just have him like speaking like a foreign language, and he just can't do it.
No, glasses in a suit.
Glasses in the suit.
That guy looks smart.
Glasses in the smoot. Yeah.
Glasses in a smoot. Yes.
Yeah, glasses in the suit. Yeah, that he'll look smart, sure. But the thing about like speaking like another language in Netflix like films, it's just like if you
When you
can't
say-
do it, then you can't do it.
When you say speaking in another language, do you mean like literally, or the joke of they use a bunch of technical terms and someone's like put it in English?
No. I mean, it's just like actually
Literally.
speaking like a different language, like just sort of like with another channel, definitely a lot bigger than ours. The guy's like a linguist,
What are you talking about?
huh?
What are you talking about, Andres? For the biggest channel?
If you ever seen like a channel like Metatron, the
Who?
Metatron, this guy he like covers like medieval shit. He also
I love
he's like
that
a
you
linguist.
say a big channel and you immediately name a person I've never heard of.
He's pretty sizable.
Is he?
Yeah, he's got like a silver subscribe button just like a little bit ago.
What is that?
A silver play button.
What is that?
Yeah, it's like some sort of.
What's the number?
It's like 200,000, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
That's not a lot. In terms of the YouTube hierarchy, the best friends have 600,000.
All right, I'm just gonna look up the guy's channel.
Oh, don't do that.
Like I just don't want to like give any kind of like misinformation about the dude. He's got it's just like 169,000 subscribers, but
Okay.
he's got a pretty loyal base. He covers some medieval shit, you know.
Okay.
He covers some linguistics, and basically the way that he said it, which is probably about
Smart
right.
guy on YouTube.
Yeah,
Smart guy on
he's a
YouTube.
pretty smart guy on YouTube.
Okay,
But basically,
cool.
the way that he said it is that it's like if you know these other languages, it's like a really skinny guy pretending to be like a really buff guy. Like when you see it happen, you know that the execution's really poor.
What do you mean? I don't know.
All right, so let's say you speak another language, all right?
Yeah.
And then in the movie that you're watching, you know, it's like, oh, this guy's like a linguist that can speak like 5 different languages. He's intelligent. He's really smart. And then you know you
Okay.
see him like using this really broken version of a language that
Oh.
you know just being like, button power here.
He knows words, but not like sentences.
Yeah, I mean but then it's like the presentation will be like, oh, this guy knows his shit.
Yeah, that's what I
When
mean.
he clearly doesn't.
He just knows words, but not like he doesn't know how to properly construct them in the language.
They'll portray it like he can, and he
Yeah,
does.
it's
but
like it's like the
crap.
first it's like the first episode of Community.
Community? Never seen it.
You ever seen Community?
Never seen Community. No.
The first episode is the whole setup, and it's like, oh yeah, let's make a study group for Spanish because the main character wants to hit on this girl, and she's like, do you know Spanish? And then he says a bunch of Spanish, but the subtitles are like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's just saying Spanish,
Oh.
and it makes it sound like he knows what he's talking about. But he
Yeah,
doesn't.
just like that.
It's that.
It's just like that, and it's like you don't fool people this way, and it's
Unless
unfortunate.
they don't know anything.
Unless they don't know anything.
Unless
of
they
course.
don't know anything.
Of course.
But more than that, like my idea for versions of characters, I think I wanted to really touch with was. Okay, I wanted to talk about this later, but fuck it. So Mirror's Edge and
Okay.
Mirror's Edge 2.
Okay.
The first Mirror's Edge. Have you played the first one?
I have not played. the
Okay,
first
it's basically a parkour game where it's like it's free running and it's really cool and it's awesome.
Yeah, I
And the
know
main-
about that, but
Okay.
I just don't know.
You never played it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. The main character of that game is named Faith, and she's really cool, and she's tough, she gets shit done. And that's it.
Problem solver.
She's problem solver. Like, the plot happens with her sister and all this stuff, and then she goes and solves the problem. So Mirror's Edge 2, which is like the sequel, not the sequel, it's like a redo. They wanted to redo it, kind of. Like, they wanted to remake Mirror's Edge. Okay.
Reboots.
Kind of, but the character is completely different than how she was. She's a problem solver, but she is not nearly as, like, emotionally tough as she is in the first game. And it doesn't make any sense.
So, like, emotionally sensitive, I guess? Is that...
I guess, but the thing is, like, okay, yeah, a lot of the stuff that happens in the first game happens in the second game, where it's like, oh man, you're super cool, your dad figure dies in the first game and in the second game. It's not a spoiler, the game's been out for like 10 years. Like, there's no statute of limitations on that shit. So the deal with that, that happens in both games. And it's like, oh, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
But in the second, and it's like, you could argue, well, the second one is more recent, so it has to be more involved with the character emotionally. It's like, well, that's bullshit, because the first game came out in a time where there was no limitation on that, and they could have shown it, but the character was like, well, I can't be sad about this all the time, because this is related to the problem that I'm solving.
Yeah.
So by solving this problem, I solve the other problem too.
Yeah, I think it's like a little bit of maybe like a shift in mentality where it's just like you're emotionally strong if you like handle it in the way that people expect you to handle emotions.
Well, it's more of just like, well, I mean, I expected her to be kind of like a lot sadder about it, but I respected that she's like, well, this sucks, but me being sad about this doesn't solve the problem. I'll be sad about it and I'll be fucking upset at everybody, but that dude over there did it, I'm taking him out. I'm doing what I gotta do to solve the problem. And in the second game, when that happens, it's more like she freaks out, kind of. And it's not as like, well, I don't respect this character as much because this is less than what I expected.
People probably going for some kind of relatability points because some people just don't know what to do with things, and they want to look to somebody for guidance.
But the thing with it,
the bad thing about that is that these characters that you're trying to play, that you want to play, basically they're supposed to be these better versions of us. There's something that we're kind of looking for. We're not really, even if we're looking for like development in the characters, we're still expecting these characters to kind of be either better than us or worse in a way that's enjoyable.
But the thing, and this is the bigger part of it, I like the first version of that character so much more than the second part. Not just in terms of, like, how the character is written to be, but also, like, in-universe knowledge.
Okay.
Because, this is one of my biggest issues with the second game, because in the very first game, there is no like upgrading system or anything. You play the game and you just get good. It gives you like the tutorial on how to do stuff, and then you do it.
That's pretty respectable.
It's great because the very first part of it, it's like, all right, here's how you coil, which is like when you jump, you hold down the trigger and you lift your legs up so you can jump over like barbed wire on fences, or you can do a quick turn in the air by pressing another button, wall run. Vault, stuff like that. Like you vault, like if there's like objects that are like a small one and then a big one, you can vault off of it to get more air. You get a ground roll, so when you hit the ground, like as you hit it, you can roll to keep your momentum. Okay, that's the setup, and that makes sense because your character is experienced. Faith has been doing this for years. She's a fucking pro, one of the best. Second game, the very beginning is like, she's been doing this for a while, like 6 months or longer. I forget because I really don't remember that game at all. You get out of like what is jail basically, like she's on parole kind of, and immediately goes back to free running. Okay, you have to earn points to remember how to coil, or how to roll, or vault, or quick turn. Those are fundamental fucking things that these people do for their jobs. And you're telling me you forgot how to do it in the span of time you were in jail?
I imagine, like, if you've been doing it for years, maybe, like, the first 2 times, maybe you fuck up on the, like...
It's
like riding a bicycle, probably.
But it's such a bad pace setter. Because at the very beginning of the first game, it's like, yeah, you're the best, and you get good at doing it. I had to wait so long to get the coil. For her to remember how to lift her legs when she jumps. Like, are you serious? I have to get an upgrade
That's
point
a problem. You're gonna have to start.
Stupid.
You're gonna have to start citing Faith. You know, by the year that the game was like published, be like Faith 2007, not Faith 2000.
Oh, we'll say Faith 2000. Faith 1, Faith 2.0.
No Faith.
That's what she should be called, because I have none in her. Especially when it gets to, like, the really, like, deep in that game, like, the stuff that's happening, you get to, like, certain points, and it's like, what the fuck is happening? Why is... No, you don't act like this!
Alright, a little bit late to ask, but, like, what is her job? Because, I mean, I get that you're, like, a parkour master.
I apologize, I should have said that. So, the deal with the game is, like, alright, so... The corporate... I don't fucking know what it's called. The corporation runs everything systematic. Everybody gets a job, and, you know, it's all very... Everyone's basically a robot.
Communism.
Shut up. Shut your mouth.
They own the means of production.
Oh my god, Andres. No, it's not that. But it's like...
They tell you what to do.
It's...
What job you get.
They're basically rebels, but, like, info trading. Like, in the first game... It's all very much about, like, they are messengers that deliver between, like, different rebel groups, kind of. Like, the first game...
So, basically spies that just specialize in delivering mail.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But it's more of, like, there's kind of implications that they're doing more, but throughout the game you only do, like, one thing. So it's more along the lines of... the group that Faith is a part of, Faith 1, like, they specialize in just, like, getting information from point A to B. Like, that's their job. Like, I got this bag, I'm going to toss it to this other runner who's going to then go, and then I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Kind of thing.
Okay.
That's, like, the first mission of the game.
Yeah.
You just trade shit, basically. But in the second game, for Faith 2, there's the runner group she's a part of, which seems to be mostly, like, information trading or, like, sneaking into, like, companies to then get secrets to then give to people who will do something with. Taking down the system from within, kind of.
So that's definitely a spy.
Kind of. But that's not, like, what the main thing was.
Okay.
Because in the second game, it's a lot more built upon, like, you actually sneak into buildings and then hack into their shit.
The other one's you're just a rat.
Well, not really, because the other one was like, here's the bag, run it. You didn't even have to sneak to get shit, you just got a bag and you ran.
Oh, okay.
But again, that's only the first mission, and the rest of the game is you solving a problem for your sister.
The second one's just solving a problem for your sister, yeah?
Not entirely. No, not at all, actually. Because you don't even find out she's your sister until like 75% through the game. Because of bullshit.
Because of bullshit.
Because of bullshit, basically.
Like, because of bullshit is sort of like when I went to, like, take my driver's license test in school.
Uh-huh.
Basically, we had, like, a whole, like, group of people. It's like, alright, guys, bring in your birth certificates. Someone brings in a birth certificate, and the teacher asks you, you know, like, are you a twin? Because this marking on your birth certificate records that you're a twin, and this dude didn't know.
I feel like that's a lot different than what we're talking about, but but sure?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because, like, that's because of bullshit, you know? It's like,
okay,
if they're withholding it from you for one reason or another.
Well, the thing with, okay.
Like, how are they dangling this piece of information away from you?
You know what? Okay, how about this? I don't care anymore. This game sucks, so I don't care how much I spoil it. People don't play this game anymore. It's been so long, people don't play it. Like, that's pretty much what it's at.
Does it have an online service that's been shut down?
No, but they're like, the online service for it sucks. Plus, the online service for it is, hey, look at this run I made. Go run it.
So you're doing what somebody else did.
Kind of. It's a time trial. It's a time trial race.
It's
not very good.
that's not very good.
It's not very
like
good.
that happened like Prototype.
It's the only
Prototype
reason.
2.
It's the only reason to come back to it, but it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
So basically, the game's story is you're a runner for the crew, for your group, like whatever the fuck you're called. And the big guy who's like in charge of the police or the big corporation is like, "Oh man, I got these top secrets. I got these top secrets ready to go." And like his female companion is there, like some woman who's just
companion.
I say companion in the purest terms.
Okay.
She is like she's like his right hand, his right hand, and she's super tough, kind of thing. And then it's like, oh man, you're running away, and then you get out, and then she shows up every now and again, and then near the end of the game, it's like, oh, she's my sister, because when the main villain came in and killed my parents, they took her, and I just ducked the fuck out. And then he raised her as his own and turned her into like a super cop, basically. Yes, that's the plot of that game. And then
I don't know how to deal with that.
And then the overarching plot of the game turns into, okay, so they're trying to emit like a signal or something that's going to like make everyone like tranquil and passive as fuck. Get rid of people's emotions. And then it's like,
so communism.
you gotta stop bringing it back to that, but kind of in its own way. So you're not entirely wrong. But the main issue is like, so your sister has like a lung problem where if it's like the air is not like pure, she gets all coughy and sick. And the villain is like, I'm trying to do this to keep her healthy. It's like, what the fuck are you on about? What? This is stupid.
Without emotions, they won't want to buy the best products.
And then
we'll just plant trees and make people ride bicycles again.
It's so dumb. And then you get into like a fight with her at the end. Also, another.
That doesn't sound very like
No, you get
healthy for somebody with like bad lungs.
You get into a game fight, and then you get into a cutscene fight where Faith 2 just tanks blows from your sister as she's like being emotional, like, we were born together, right across the face, like beating the shit out of Faith 2, and it's like, this isn't. I'm not attached to this moment at all because this whole experience that I've had in this game has been the least enjoyable thing I've ever had. I didn't enjoy this game, so I don't feel attached to any of these characters. I don't like these versions of the characters. They don't feel relatable.
Alright. So, best version.
Well, I mean, I'm biased as fuck, but like, I feel my opinion is a little more supported by evidence because I played both games to completion. I didn't play that game for my fucking health. I wanted to have a proper opinion.
Alright. And there were some like pretty weak things that you mentioned about like the second one where it's like
it's not very
you explain it away. Like you just
I definitely didn't give the proper full explanation for sure. How about this one day?
The game doesn't either though, does it?
Kind of. It probably does somewhere, but it's not worth it. Like, how about this? One day, I'll play it for you, and you'll just watch. And you'll watch it happen. Because that game is it's not very long. There's a bunch of side missions you can do, but I can skip the shit out of those.
Yeah, you can skip the shit out of side missions.
But my bigger issue is the combat. Combat in that game is ridiculous. It's not very good. It's really, really annoying. Because the first game's gimmick, Faith 1's gimmick, was that you could run away from like every combat encounter. You didn't have to fight anybody.
That's pretty important for what she does too.
Yeah, because and the best part, like to emphasize that, is like, there were cops you could fight, and you could disarm them of their gun and use it, but you didn't carry any extra magazines or anything. It was what was left in the gun, because the whole deal with a runner is like quick and efficiency. So holding a gun and extra magazines is the most inefficient thing you could ever do because it weighs you down.
So the second one was it combat heavy?
Oh, extremely. There were sections of that game where you had to complete fights to then advance the plot. Like, there's one part where it's like, okay, you need to disarm this tower.
How
Like,
frequently was this though?
in terms of fights?
In terms of fights, yeah. Because if it's every once in a while, that might be forgivable, just because
Well,
you're.
I'd be
You're
more.
cornered.
I'd be more forgiving. Well, the thing with it is like in the first game that never happened. You didn't have to finish any fights. There was one thing There was one moment where you had to get a gun to then shoot a bunch of computer servers to open doors to then escape.
You're not shooting people.
No, there's an achievement in the first game for completing the game on the highest difficulty without shooting a single person. And it's funner that way. It's funner to not shoot at anybody because you are then like actively avoiding encounters and free running over people. You're using the environment so much more than you would if you just attacked people. I mean,
Okay.
it was fucking hard, but it was fun. And in the second game, it's like and with the computer server thing in the first game, it's you disarm a dude and you knock him out in one hit because you disarmed him,
Mhm.
which is the whole point of it. And then you shoot a bunch of servers, drop the gun, run. It took like a minute,
Alright.
half that even. In the second game, it's look at all these enemy types. There's so many. Each enemy type has their own special little cutscene when they show up for the first time. And then you had to go and do this thing of, okay, so here's this server, or here's this tower that will alert the cops faster to your presence. You better beat up these guys to shut it down. It's like, what? I don't want to do that. I just want to run and I want to have fun. Oh, I can't. I have to do your shitty combat that blocks my combos.
Yeah, but that's a little bit more mechanics than it is character. But I can see
No,
how that would
that's
definitely
what I'm
influence.
talking. I should have said that. That's what I'm talking about mechanics at this point, and the mechanics of the game don't help the flow of it.
Right.
Because if you have the mentality of, I just want to free run and I just want to get through levels and I want to like do the environment, like I want to free run, I want to run off buildings and shit. I want to have fun with that. Can't do that because there's like 2 or 3 parts where you have to fight like swarms of dudes to wait for something to happen or to do something, and I don't want to do that. It just wasn't. I'll show you eventually,
Okay.
and you'll understand where I'm
Yeah,
coming from
yeah,
more.
yeah.
It's
But
just like,
like
fuck.
we've pretty much come around with all of this, so it's just like
Yeah.
in choosing your best version of something. Like, what's
It
the most
is.
important thing? Because it's like,
What's the best version of your character?
what's the best version? It's probably not gonna be where somebody like gets like their peak, but probably some point where you're either like turning around as a character, or you're just like
Mm.
something where it's like you return to something as a character, you know? Because it's just like the point is that when you're a character, you're gonna go on a journey and shit, you know.
That's true.
Even if you're like in one place, if by the end of it you can't really say anything about that journey, then it's like it's either extremely boring or you're just really bad at what you did.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like,
Well, and especially with games and whatnot, where it's like more of an interactive experience.
yeah,
If you perform badly in a game that is story driven, but with like
Yeah.
that has like Last of Us. The Last of Us is a good example because there's a lot of combat sequences, but it's like more story driven than anything. If you do kind of bad on it, it kind of makes the pacing really weird, and the game doesn't flow the way it was designed to.
right. So like basically, I would say is that like it would have to be for the character. You're gonna have to define it by like a moment probably, because you know you need to like empirically say, hey, at this point in time. So I would say that it would have to be like a moment where they call back. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it was just shoehorned in, you know. It's
Yeah,
like
okay.
it feels like a genuine moment where somebody can look back and do something.
Yeah.
And then your character does something either very characteristic or very uncharacteristic about what they do.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And that's actually a really good point. And I keep talking about it, but it ties into Mirror's Edge 1 and 2. Because the thing with it is because 2 was a reboot, they could change all that, and they could do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to like follow the story or like the ideas in the first game, because it was a reboot of the first game. It was like a retelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like that's kind of where that goes, and that's not great. And it's weird. But also, in terms of pacing, there's actually an interesting thing that was brought up on a podcast that I listened to, the Best Friend Cast.
Yeah.
Super Best Friend Cast. They had a spoiler cast for Nier Automata with a guy who does a bunch of Nier stuff,
Okay.
named Mr. Klimps.
Klemps.
He's actually does some he does some good content for Nier and Drakengard. We'll check it out later because it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The thing is, so, and this was brought up in the spoiler cast, the pacing for Nier Automata, the sequel game to Nier, can be really weird depending on how you play the game. So, endings A and B are like the same stuff but played from different perspectives. Like ending A is the perspective of 2B, which is a character,
Right.
and ending B is done through the perspective of 9S, who is the other character who you're traveling with the whole game. And the thing is, if you finish... Okay, you can do the side quests as they come up, and the game saves which side quests you've done for either character.
Right.
So if you played through ending A and did all of the side quests that are available for 2B, because like 2B and 9S have like specific side quests that only pop when you're playing their part. 2B, you can do like all the basic ones with 2B, like the first character.
Yeah.
That really fucks up the pacing of the story. Because, like, if you do all of that with 2B, the game her ending takes, like, 20 hours. And then you play the game as 9S, and you do, like, the couple of specific side quests, the game takes, like, 3 or 4. It's such a drastic change in pacing.
That probably just comes with, trying to, like, give you the options of playing as other
Yeah.
characters, because they really can't, like, provide a equal.
No, they can't, and you're right.
And we all know who they came for.
Yeah. That game's really good, though.
Yeah.
The game's really good.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so what else have we got?
What else have we got?
What else have
yeah,
we got?
you want to move on?
I just want to move on just a little bit, because now it's just like...
Aw, come
Like,
on.
we can discuss, like, different versions of something, but then eventually, it's just like... It's going to be a bad version
Well, you
of
may
something.
like this.
It's going to be like a bad
That-
execution.
That makes
And-
that's true. God, bad executions feel like they happen so much more than with new executions or
Good executions.
good executions.
Yeah, because it's like, it's part of that saying where it's just like, if something does its job, then you don't notice it at all.
Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, okay.
But then when it's new executions, it's something that,
if it's new and good,
it's new and good, you're going to remember that.
forever. It's gonna trump the old one. So the thing with the next part is like that I wrote down is called I called it tasteful exposure.
Tasteful exposure.
What do you think I mean by
Exposure?
that?
Alright, so tasteful exposure, I'm going to have to say, man, it really sounds like something about skin, man.
Yep.
Okay.
So here's why I brought this up. So I was watching the first Ghost in the Shell movie recently.
Okay.
The first one. The very beginning of that movie, like the first 15 minutes, you see the Major, who's the main character, like the woman.
Right.
Have you seen the first movie?
This is another thing where I'm going to have to say I have not seen it.
We'll watch it.
It really seems like there's a lot of things
Dude,
where it's just
after
like,
this-
I have not heard of this, I have not heard of that. We're going to probably have to start doing this thing where it's like, alright, we're going to look at this thing, and then we're going to talk about it later.
No, we'll do that after.
Okay, after, of
No,
course.
But, seriously, after this, we'll watch it. It's
Okay.
really good.
Gotcha.
But basically, and plus this relates to other stuff, but this is like the reason I even brought it up. So in the first Ghost in the Shell movie, the first 15 minutes is basically the Major, the main character, like the one with the purple hair.
Right.
You've probably seen pictures of her.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, she basically has like a cloak on, not a coat, like a trench coat kind of thing on, and she takes it off and she's like completely nude. I don't think there's any. Oh, this is kind of more like weird on top of like the world of Ghost in the Shell, but her breasts are fully modeled as like nipples and all that stuff, but she has no genitalia.
Okay, I get what
Which
you're
is
saying.
like
about
that's weird.
It's like a doll, kind of.
Yeah, she's an android.
Well, she is an android.
Yeah, she's a doll, and that makes sense. And the thing with it is like I look at that and I say, I don't hate what I'm seeing because I feel like it's going to tie in, and it does because at the end of like the beginning sequence, she goes like completely camouflaged, and it's like, oh, she went nude so that she could then be cloaked by all like the surroundings.
Right. So something I really think about, like
Yeah.
tasteful exposure is that, it's like with exposure, depending on what your thing is, it's going to set the mood.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So sometimes you're going to get exposure, and it's going to be something like it's going to be like a really crude sort of thing where it's just
You're
like,
gonna get harem exposure.
yeah, where it's like, well, you're going to get harem exposure,
Which
in
is
in
breast
some
everywhere.
like more horror, gory kind of things. It's just sort of like people are really naked. There's nothing really safe about you
Yeah.
or whatever you have on top of you.
I feel like the main difference is ambivalence to fan service. Because I feel like in Ghost in the Shell, it's completely just like she's only doing this because like it's the most optimal way for her to perform her job at the moment.
That and like
She's not doing it to please the crowd in terms of in-universe, in terms of in context to the viewer.
you'll probably get like the best answer with being like, why is that person not wearing any clothes?
And then the answer comes up like a minute later.
Well, you don't always need an answer,
Yeah,
but
for
it's just
sure.
like sometimes it's pretty obvious. Like if it's a robot
Yeah.
or it's just like some sort of shit happens and all your clothes get blown away for whatever reason, and they're not going to keep the show whatever whatever rating would have kept it from having a naked person.
I just feel like that happens too often where it's like a freezing is a good example of like they're trying to be ambivalent with their exposure, but it comes off as tasteless. Like I've told you about freezing before.
Yeah, you've
because
told
I
me
like
that.
the concept. It's like the women are the fighters and the men are the support. But the main issue is like the monsters that they're fighting rarely show up. So there's like fighting all the time between the female characters at like the academy they go to. So all the time their clothes are blowing off, but it's like it's not censored.
Okay.
And
So,
it's just constant. And it's like, this is really annoying and frustrating because I don't want
I
this.
guess something that I would just ask about that then too is that it's like, how would fighting each other help fight the monsters?
It's just drama.
it's just drama.
It's anime drama because
Okay.
I don't know, I say anime drama, I mean superpowered female characters fighting because they have the ability to do so.
I imagine that you would eventually fill your free time with, hey, I can do something with the
Nope.
sword, but
Well, it's just the issue of like the monsters aren't always there. Every now and again, they just show the fuck up.
like I guess I gotta.
It's kind
I
of
feel
like
like if
Pacific
I,
Rim.
if I keep explaining, where it's just like I understand where you're coming from. I'm gonna make a lot of concessions with that.
No, dude, explain.
Where it's
Go
just sort
for
of
it.
like a.
Say what you want to say.
Let's see. It makes sense that these people are gonna fight each other because these people, maybe they would be able to emphasize that they got like different ideals. They
Well,
wanna
I
do
should
things
also
different
say
ways.
there's a ranking system in the school of that world. So, like, a lot of them are fighting because it's like, fuck you, I should be number 2. It's really weak reasoning.
I have a love-hate relationship with these things where they give somebody a name and a rank, and that rank is basically their name. where it's
Afro
like
Samurai
clan
does it
number
the
two.
best.
It,
Think about it. Come on.
yes, it does.
It does,
It
because there's
does.
only the 2. There's
Yeah,
only
my
the
brother
2
really,
headbands.
He really hates that show because it's just like
Who?
my brother. He really hates.
Fuck on.
yeah.
Fuck him.
I actually really loved the show. I really loved.
Why
the,
does he
the-
not like it?
I'm not quite sure what it was about the show. Like,
I'm
but
gonna yell at him when I see
I
him.
guess like something I gotta say is that I really love like the twist at the very end where it was just sort of like the main character's father. He unjustly lost because of something, and that allowed him to win because he was the one that saw it happen.
Wait. Well, I mean, he didn't unjustly. The main
Okay.
character's dad did not unjustly lose.
Okay, that actually is very fair. The way that I kind of presented it really does sound like it was unfair.
Yeah.
The thing is, like with this world, there's a whole bunch of different sorts of unexpectedness that can happen.
I like to think of it as like the world is correct to that time period with exceptions.
a lot of excitement.
With a lot of exceptions, but that makes it more interesting. But more than that, it's like, but there's one dude who has like a really, really hard gimmick that gives him an invisible advantage,
Yeah, so it's just like
being the main villain.
I kind of don't want to call parts of it gimmicks too because
Well,
it's like
do it.
when you sort of like explain like what this person does, they got like a fighting style. It's not like a fighting technique where all of a sudden something just happens and
But
they
that's what
win because of
happens.
that.
The main villain
The main
has
villain,
a gimmick.
The main villain has a gimmick, but his gimmick is just surprise. You can't say the guy isn't talented at the very least.
Okay, that's completely fair because he is, and he's super tough. But I feel like if the main character's dad had known about it,
He probably would have.
I would have been a
won, I
lot
think.
more curious to see how that fight would have ended.
I really think he would have won.
I think he would have won. I think he's a lot more skilled. He deflected like 12 bullets.
Like you really gotta admit too. It's like that's life, you know. Like
Yeah.
shit, like you're not gonna know
You
what's
lost.
being thrown at you. You can do all the right things and you can still lose.
No, here's probably like the justification. When you lose in that world with the headbands, you usually die. So hold that. It doesn't matter how you lost, you're dead. Oops, you fell. Well, I guess I got the number 2.
I wouldn't really expect anybody to give up though. At the same time,
No, not give up, but like, oh, there was something on the battlefield we were fighting and I slipped and fell and the dude took the advantage and killed me. I guess I lost the number 2 headband.
Nobody you can really blame but yourself, and that's just sort of how the show
exactly.
is.
So I can hate him for the gimmicks, but I can also respect the fact that he won.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I still really like that show.
Yeah.
There's something about, like, the dumb blend of modern and, like, classic.
How did we get here from like a tasteful exposure?
Well, because it is. Well, I mean...
There is tasteful exposure.
Well,
in the show.
I would say that that exposure is, like,
Well,
tasteless.
Well, not tasteless. It's got taste, man. It's got a taste. It's not a good taste. It's not a righteous taste, but
Okay.
it's a tasteful exposure.
I consider...
Because it sets the genre too.
It
really
does. It's hip-hop. It's
Yeah.
fucking hip-hop, man.
Yeah.
Listen, when the leader of the Empty Seven, which is the name of like all the old dudes, like the clan of the old guys, the Empty Seven, probably my favorite group name in the whole thing. So good. It's basically the leader of it is just fucking yanking the panties of some like cult babe who's super hard for the old dick. And it's like, oh, why? Stop cutting to that. But it's so correct to the mood.
Yeah. So, like, I guess
I got
like,
off on a tangent with that.
Yeah. But it's like
fuck it.
when you have to say like that something's got taste. You know, it's taste in regard to the genre.
That's true.
So I guess it's like if you had to say like
Turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger.
the only time you can really like argue, you know, like the taste and the genre they coincide, but it's still tasteless.
Yeah.
Is partially fan service. You know, like people are gonna show up for
You
it.
gotta do
You
it.
gotta
every now
admit.
and
You
again.
gotta admit it's successful. You
gotta
admit,
make those
You gotta
sales.
admit it works. You gotta admit it makes sales.
It does.
But
It's how you use it.
yeah, you gotta admit. You gotta also admit at some point, you know, you got this fan service happening. It's just like, how does this enhance the show?
Have
Makes
you
it
seen
so good.
Redline?
I saw Redline.
Okay.
We have seen Redline. You made an
I
effort
made
to make
you
sure that
I
we've seen
fucking
Redline.
made sure you watched Redline. So like, greatest fucking movie ever. You should all check it out, dude. The part where Sonoshi is just like comes in the scene, sits down, and she doesn't have a shirt on.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that. Because I don't think it was tasteless because it was showing like the character's just comfortable in their own house. Like, I mean, I'm doing it right now. I don't have my shirt on. I completely understand
Well,
that.
you're a dude. That's lucky enough.
Well, yeah, I don't have my tits hanging. Well, I mean, they basically are. But, like, the idea of being comfortable in your own home and just sitting there or just, like, how you want to in your most comfortable state is completely relatable. But in terms of how that movie flows, in terms of the stuff you are seeing the whole time, it seems out of place and random.
I guess it's because there's like plenty of other ways that you can just do that really
Yeah.
simple thing of, you know, like, because she's like watching television at the point when it happens.
She's
yeah.
watching the interviews of all the racers.
Yeah, so it's just like there's like really another way you can probably go on ahead and you can do it, and it's just like less out of the way. Sort of like, all right, so this is going to sound like a really odd comparison, but
Yeah.
like the original Assassin's Creed, where basically you get in that device where you get to view your ancestors' memories,
Animus.
but you do basically nothing as, you know, the main character, Miles, whatever. You're always
Miles Dyson.
yeah, Miles Dyson. Miles Dyson.
Yeah, we're calling him Miles Dyson from now on.
Okay, but it's
Fucking
like
fan.
you always go back in time to experience your ancestors' memories. Well, this
Yeah.
entire time you could have just been the ancestor, which
Well, I think the idea is you are reliving your the character's ancestors through their eyes,
yeah.
but as a player, you are the third person.
And it's like at the very end of the game, yeah, maybe they just had so that way they could justify a sequel, setting it up as in like there is modern day.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there could have been a lot better of a transition from like present to past.
There kind of was. Because did you go... I think it was after the credits.
After the credits, yeah, the
Oh,
assassins come save you.
No. The after the credits of the first game. Where you get out of the... Like, the sections of the first game where you can walk around outside of the Animus and it's all first
Yeah.
person? Like, at the end of the credits, you could do that, but you could turn on Eagle Vision. Did you do that?
I don't think I did that.
Oh, man, that was kind of important. Well, kind of. It's, you get out of the Animus and you're walking around and you pop Eagle Vision and you see all of this writing all over the walls and it gives you, like, lore and shit. And it's like, oh, this is... Why is he able to now do this? And then that's why they explain in the second game the bleeding effect, where Miles Dyson is now able to, like, use the abilities and skills of his ancestors.
Okay.
I think it's kind of weak.
It was a little bit too much of like a setup, though.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
really
like,
was. It was definitely like
because you
set it
don't
up.
you don't do enough as your character, in the present, and I guess that's sort of like
Yeah.
where we can like draw it back all the way back. It's just like you aren't doing enough, like showing, hey, this person was watching TV and they were comfortable in their own skin,
I feel like
which
they could.
it's acceptable,
Yeah.
but it's gonna feel a little weird, a little awkward, a little out of place.
Mhm.
And if you don't, and if you think that your audience is gonna, they're gonna be okay with that.
Yeah.
If they think your audience is gonna find it interesting, then by all means, go on ahead and do it like that.
The way I like to look at it is, I feel like the stuff with Mr. Dyson in the game, Mr. Miles Dyson, I feel like him being in the story feels kind of like tacked on. Because they could have just made the game Assassin's Creed 1 and have you just play as... I actually forget his name. The main character, like the assassin character.
Okay.
And then 2 could have just been like Assassin's Creed 2 where you play as Ezio. It felt like Miles was like chopped in
Yeah, like
as like a reasoning, but I feel like the game's held up enough to where they didn't need a reason to have this legacy of assassins throughout time. They didn't need someone like to be an ancestor or like a descendant for me to want to play as those characters.
yeah, they probably could have just done this natural progression sort of thing, and then
Mhm.
with Call of Duty, where it was always in the past,
Uh-huh.
eventually make it to the present, eventually go to the future.
Yeah.
They could have done that.
They could have. I feel like they could have done.
Especially when
I
they
feel like
did-
I just didn't like Miles. He just
Yeah.
wasn't a very good character.
Because it's like maybe they tried to do that because they wanted to have like the whole fruit of Eden, fruit of frickin'
Apple of Eden.
the fucking fruit, where it's just like it's technology.
Dude, that game gets so fucking stupid with its plot, where it then pulls in like.
Again, I don't believe that there was ever a bad idea, just poorly executed.
I feel like there are bad ideas. Why do you say that?
I kind of say that because it's like, all right, let's say that you create somebody and your idea is that you want this thing to be somebody. Like you have like this cookie cutter, this name.
Mhm.
Like you're like, hey, I want to make Thor.
Okay.
Like, it's like that's all he's ever gonna be. He's gonna be Thor. If you ever like, I mean like the fucking god Thor.
Yeah.
That's all he's gonna be. He's gonna be a stereotype. But if you start off a character, and then eventually it's like, hey, he's got lightning. He's in Norse times. Why the hell not make him fucking Thor? Why not have it just being like a different retelling?
But-
Then he gets to exist outside of the mold. But if you create somebody within the mold, that's all he's ever gonna be. That mold.
Yeah, but I feel like your example should have been a bad character that persists through time. As an example of a bad idea, but like executed well, because there are bad ideas, and bad ideas happen all the time. Fucking Sharknado. You tell me that was good, but
Look, I don't like Sharknado, so
I know,
probably
that's
would
why
be a
I'm
bad
saying
example.
it.
But people did like it. People did like it so much so that it got like a sequel. Eventually, we got like The fourth awakens. The fourth fucking Sharknado. Look, I'm gonna need to take a quick break.
That's fine. Alright, I'll pause it. Alright, there it goes. Alright, so we had to take a pause real quick because we had to take a break from the recording to use the bathroom and whatnot and get refreshed. We don't know what we were just talking about, so fuck it.
It was like tasteful exposure.
It was tasteful exposure, but I don't know.
Went back to like.
I don't know the thing. We went on a tangent again.
We went on a tangent again, and it was just basically like, how does something work if the exposure sets the tone, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, that sucks.
So yeah.
Oh, we'll get over it. So, the next thing I actually had on here was lack of expressions in characters.
All right, lack of expression. How?
Well, I guess both physically and emotionally. So when I say physically, I mean like Rey from Evangelion or Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, where their face remains completely neutral the whole time, even though all this shit's going around them.
Right.
But the difference to me is that you watched Evangelion, right?
I know things, man. Each time you ask, like, you watch this, and it'd be like, I know, right? But I guess I can probably speak on, like, the archetype, because we already understand what kind of archetype is the one that's just, like, I don't care what's going on around me. I don't, like, really have, like, too much of an issue with things. I'm really smooth and disconnected. And I feel like part of it is just, like, from, like, I don't want to say this isn't something that really, like, happens in America, but it's just sort of, like, it's just one of those things where you'll notice that there is, like, a difference in culture, and part of it would have to be with, you know, these people that they'll completely, like, withdraw from all this information overload that might be occurring. Because, like...
yeah, I get you.
Like me, alright? Like, I'll go to, like, the city, alright? The city, you know, like, wait in line for food. It is really fucking busy. I come from the countryside. I am not, like, set for that sort of pace. So it's like, if I were to ever go to New York, imagining, like, just whatever city I came from to, like, an upgrade, I would just have to, like, fucking shut down completely. Just sort of be, like, just looking around every so often, just disconnected from everything that's going on. Just not make it obvious that I'm some sort of stranger or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So
well, putting up a front.
Yeah, putting up a front. So it's like, we're going to have these people that are putting up a front. They've probably been putting up a front their entire lives.
Well, the thing is that in Evangelion, Rey, the character, is expressionless pretty much the whole time. But, like, the way she communicates with the characters has a lot of, like, emotion behind it. Like, her intentions won't be outright, but it's very clear that, like, she's not withdrawn so much as just her face doesn't change.
Oh, sure.
And I think that's a little bit more interesting than most stuff that happens, where it's just like deadpan the whole time and they just don't care. And that's really boring, and that's uninteresting. Rey does it well. I think Lightning in Final Fantasy 13, she shows, like, expression once in the first game, and for the rest of the game it's just like, we will defeat you. Deadpan.
Yeah, so I guess part of it is, you know, like, it's kind of like part of, like, what do you want out of these characters? Because, like, part of it is that we want to admire these characters, so there's somebody who, you know, who has to be, like, cool in their situations. No one likes somebody that freaks out over every little thing, and we like people that struggle at the exact same time, too. So
but
it's
if
like,
it's your main character, like in Final Fantasy 13, they should be driven by, not entirely by emotion, but there should definitely be, like, when they are strongly against something, they need to express it both verbally and physically. And she just doesn't do that too often. And that's kind of annoying, because that's the main character. The one who, like, is supposed to, like, lead the party and get shit done.
Right.
She just doesn't look like she gives a shit. She'll say she cares, but it never looks like she does.
Right. So it's like, I guess with your main character, you really want somebody who you can get behind. And it gets pretty difficult when that person doesn't seem, I guess drawn wouldn't be the right word, because we were just, like, talking about this, but it's just like, they don't really look like somebody who's really invested, I suppose.
Yeah.
The proper word would be, like, invested. Because it's like, oh, they care alright, but, you know, they gotta be, like, ready to cut something off, like, in a minute, you know, you don't really see like that kind of goal that's maybe will be emphasized in the series, maybe overemphasized if they want to be malicious about it.
But like the two good examples are Ray and Major from Ghost in the Shell, because the Major from Ghost in the Shell is like in the original movie, she's kind of deadpan the whole time. Like there's not a whole lot of facial expression, but like the way she communicates with every character, there is definite tone, and like when she says something, it's either like because it's her job to do so, but at the same time there's a lot of emotion behind it, and it's a very good character trait, and I appreciate that so much more than like the archetype of dead face, but they don't express it correctly.
Yeah,
that's just boring.
Have you seen like Out of No Zero? Because like the main character is pretty much
Egg
like
Dude.
What?
Egg Dude.
It's like this one right here.
Yeah, the guy who's like all about the eggs, right?
All about the egg. I don't remember him being like about eggs.
Dude.
Basically.
The very beginning when he's making the eggs and he's looking at the sale paper for eggs, like the sales at the supermarket for eggs. Dude like eggs.
So you remembered him as Egg Dude?
Well, because he's not very good. He's not a very good character. He wasn't very interesting.
I kind of agree with that too. Like he was supposed to be somebody that really was like kind of okay. I like to use the word problem solver a lot because he was kind of like he kind of get shit done, but he was like get shit done smart, and it really didn't play to his advantage, to be honest, because it just gave him all the victories that he really needed.
Well, the thing is, I watched a bit of it, and then I went and watched Demolition D's review, or should you watch of it? Do you know who Demolition D?
Demolition D? I don't really like watch Demolition D.
Oh really?
No.
Oh, he's great. He does a mini series called Should You Watch, where he'll pick like just a series, and then he'll critique it and talk about it and like give the reasons why it's good or like the inner workings of it kind of thing.
No, okay.
It's actually really insightful, and he did one on All No Zero where it's like the reason for how they won is kind of interesting, but past like the first couple times it just starts getting into like bullshit. And I think the greatest part he pointed out was like when the dude from Mars gives you the assist on your team and then you shoot him down. Like, the fuck, why'd you do that? And he's like, well, because he's not my ally. It's like, yeah, but he saved you. If he didn't show up, you would have died. Do you remember that part at all?
Yeah, I do remember that part, like actually. I just remember, because I do remember him being like a major asshole, and it's just like, there's no real repercussions of him like being an asshole other than the fact that, he gets better with the fucking brain implants.
Yeah. Actually, I remember another part that was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be. The torture scene where the dude's like whipping the guy from Mars, like the guy who helped him out.
Yeah.
And he throws the whip back and like breaks that whole console with it. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And he does that, and then he hits the dude who's like tied up, and it doesn't leave like a single mark, and he looks perfectly fine. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. You just broke metal with that fucking whip, and you're telling me this dude's stronger than that?
Animation costs, dude.
That was just really funny. It's like, don't do it if you're not going to be accurate. Don't show how strong this guy is who's using the whip if you're not going to be accurate to it. At that point, just give him a bat.
Some kind of space logic, dude.
No, fuck that. That's not how
whip works. Give him like a cigar cutter and start like getting on the finger and go slower down.
Yeah, get his penis. Do you ever see Eden of the East?
Dude, I have not.
Okay.
You keep throwing these titles at me.
You need to get on my level.
You really curved me with that. Like last time, you're like, hey, have you ever seen Eden of the East? Which kind of makes me assume this happens in Eden of the East.
Kind of. It's implied.
Huh.
There's a point where it's kind of more of a joke, but at one point one of this characters shows up. Not this character, but
like I was
a rumor happens, and like the character is called the Johnny Hunter. Because dudes show up dead with their dicks cut off.
Sheesh. I was going more towards like the Dark Man, where it's like we got the mob boss with the cigar cutter, and he'll just like put it on your finger and just be like, "Hey, I collect fingers."
I collect fingers.
Well, he doesn't collect fingers, but he collects some dude's finger, which is like
he killed one dude. Yeah.
Just one dude, because he was mad at him. He was really mad at him.
I'm gonna hang this on my wall. Right, I'm gonna put a pin in this. So whenever I see your fucking face, I'll point to it and say, "Oh, take the other ones." Did he take the whole finger or like the first knuckle?
He took like the finger. If I remember right, it was just like the whole fucking finger.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, you ever seen like Dark Man?
No.
Dark Man's like with Liam Neeson. Basically, this mob descends upon him and his people.
Sounds like Taken.
It kind of is. It's like his lab gets destroyed. He survives. Then he creates this sort of skin that basically this artificial skin that can stay together for like about an hour. So it's under light. So he's got to stay in the dark with his costume, of like fake whatever the hell. And like he disguises other people's, and he's got like superhuman strength.
What the
It's
fuck?
old. It's old as fuck.
This movie sounds really kind of bad.
It's bad, but it's enjoyable.
I don't know how to feel about that. Well, is it
Like it's not good. It's not a good endorsement to say the movie's bad.
Yeah.
But if we think
Is
about
it
it
like
this,
a Schwarzenegger?
what
Where it's not a very good movie, but the main actor sells it.
the main actor does sell it pretty
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Because dude, it's Liam Neeson.
Oh,
Liam Neeson doesn't get any really good roles. So
That's-
like in a bad
yeah.
movie, you really don't have that much of a higher standard for him.
Yeah.
And this was
that's true.
before. This was before they even.
This is before Taken.
This was before Taken. This was before Spider-Man. Like the
What was
original
that, what?
Spider-Man.
Liam Neeson was in Spider-Man.
No, Liam Neeson wasn't in Spider-Man. I'm just saying, like, this was before the original Spider-Man.
Oh,
and
until
that's
the
usually
time.
that's usually a marking point where
Oh,
people were like,
yeah.
"Hey, superhero movies were really like cheesy and shit," which
Oof.
yeah, it really was. But, you
that
know,
kind of fucked up on capture. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. It just, but Andres, not you bring up fun. I want to ask you a question, Andres.
okay.
How much more important is your fun over the fun of others? Where do you place it? Where do you place your fun? I'm curious.
I don't place my fun like really too high up there. It's just like I can have fun, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's not like I can be like I'm having fun and you can have fun, but it's just like I guess my objective isn't always to really like have fun because like let's say like you're like admiring something for the sake of it being what it is.
Okay.
You're not necessarily having fun when you're admiring whatever it is.
Okay, well, this may help put it into perspective. Do you want to know why I chose this as a topic?
Sure.
Okay, so I was listening to a snippet from the Best Friend cast where they were talking about Overwatch and Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO.
Okay.
And they were talking about how... So, have you ever played a game, like, seriously? Like, you sit down and it's like a team-based thing and you say to yourself, I want to win. I want to win this match.
Yeah.
That kind of thing?
I have.
Okay.
Just not very often, to be
Okay.
honest.
No, I get because I mean, oh man, shots at Andres. You don't play a lot of games.
I don't play a lot of
You
games.
don't play a lot of games.
I don't play games.
You really don't. You play like Darkest Dungeon, and that's about as far as I've seen you play games. That's not really saying a lot because
Yeah.
that's like hardly a game at this point.
It's gonna become like mobile too, eventually.
No, fuck off. I don't want that to be a
It'll
mobile.
happen.
I don't want it to be.
We don't get what we want all the time.
You're not wrong. But but like they were talking about how in Overwatch and like team-based stuff, how there's one person who can ruin the entire experience for you simply by being bad. But there was another person his name's Liam on the group. I don't think he's with them anymore. Who gave the viewpoint of, but what if they're just wanting to have fun?
That's completely
Just-
justifiable if you
Is
just want to
it?
have fun.
Is
It is like all
If
right,
you're dragging
all right.
down
So-
the whole team for your fun, is it really worth it?
I'd say that you have other options, so you don't have to exactly play in that kind of mode.
Yeah.
Which it might be the wisest decision as well, but you don't have to remove your fun for that sort of
Well,
reason.
the examples they gave were like if you went into Overwatch and you went into quick play.
But you get the option to kick players, yeah. Like
In MMOs, if you start the party, but like if you go and the examples for Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO, was you want to do a dungeon.
okay,
You go into like the dungeon and you're like but your people aren't on, so
Okay.
you go into like the party finder and you
Okay.
just find a group,
okay,
and everyone's doing good
hmm
except for that guy, and you can point to the problem. It's that dude right there. You can
Mhm.
point to him, and you're just like, hey, can you please do the thing you're supposed to? And the guy's response is, yeah, but I just want to hit the boss because that's what's fun to me. You can fuck off. Because you forcing the party to wipe, it's like, it is not fun, but you can, that's like
I
what
feel
it
like
is
that's a
in
little
Destiny.
bit different, though. That's a little bit different from just saying, I just want to have fun. Like, when somebody says, I want to have fun, typically it's just saying, hey, I want to go into this without a plan, which is fine, too. But I feel like that when people get together, they're just like, I want to play this with a plan. I want to play this with a thing in mind where we're going to work together and get this done. Me working with another player is my idea of fun, while this person's idea of fun really doesn't line up. And that's when you use the kick button.
But you can't kick if you can't do it.
Well, then that's bad, actually. You gotta work on figuring out how to get that person gone.
Yeah, but if it's Overwatch, you can't do that. You then have to deal with this shitty person who either won't leave or continues to be shitty and make you lose.
Ugh.
You can do that.
It's one of those situations
You can do
where
that
it's
in Final
like,
Fantasy if you start the party.
when it works like that, it's like the only situation you really have is to like walk away if it's that much of a problem, because it's just like everybody's got their different.
But the thing is, if it's one person, why should you have to leave? If it's kind of like it's like with Overwatch, and this is a good example of this. You're on a group, and there's a dude who's like a Hanzo.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, we need a healer. Can someone be a healer? And your response is, you can also pick a healer. You don't have to be. You can change characters.
Right.
Everyone in the group can change, including you.
Right.
And they say, no, I play Hanzo. Okay, fuck off. Don't ask for shit if you're not even going to try to compromise.
Alright, so I guess this is going to be like an awkward comparison, but this is kind of the way that I see it too.
Uh-huh.
We making a lot of awkward comparisons today. Basically, it's just
Don't
like...
say we.
Okay,
No.
I am making some
No,
very
I'm
awkward
also
comparisons.
making some weird
Okay,
ones.
so it's just like when you're playing a game, it's sort of like getting on a ship, you know? It's just like, you got to know when to jump ship. And if somebody like that you're playing with
Yeah.
is making it unbearable to the point where it's just like, hey, I want you to leave, that's a point when you should say to yourself, hey, I should allow myself to jump ship without this ruining my experience.
No, I understand that. There is a thing with Overwatch and whatnot where you get on, but like you join a part, like a group that's like has all 4 of its members, and you're just like the rando that shows up,
Okay.
and they're throwing down the fucking football play. They're like, you're gonna go left on this shit. You can easily just say like, I'm out, because I don't know what's happening, and I just want to pick a character and have fun. I don't want to fuck with their system up because they clearly want to win, and that's not what I'm here for right now.
Yeah.
That's the best
Case scenario.
way. Yeah, but that's not what everyone's going to happen. It's always going to be someone's playing badly, and then you let them know, and then they kind of tilt. You know what that means?
Tilt. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, it's like tilting is like in terms of like games and whatnot is. For fighting games, which is I guess what I'm most familiar with, being on tilt is like someone has mentally fucked you. Like if you're playing,
That works.
if you're playing Marvel,
That's
like,
pretty apt for a description.
Yeah.
It's a visual. It's something I can visualize.
if you're playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which is a 3-on-3 team layout,
Yeah.
and they take out 2 of your characters and you haven't fucking touched them, you're gonna freak out and you're just gonna start doing stuff and hope that it works. That's what being on tilt is basically means. Like with Overwatch, someone points out or says to you, hey, you're not doing a very good job with Reinhardt, can you please switch to a different character? You go on tilt and you just start doing shit. Like you start making bad decisions. And
Part of that is you gotta take criticism well, you know?
yeah, but it's the internet. And it's the world where people don't do that for some reason.
Yeah, like I guess this goes back to
If
why
you-
we want
if
why
you
we
go-
want these like
Yeah,
expressionless characters a little bit. You know, maybe going back to that previous topic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you want somebody who can handle pressure well. You know, like those cortisol levels just being
Cortisol.
All right. You know, somebody who's like dependable. You know, you can't
Yeah.
depend on somebody that goes on tilt.
It's just sadly the thing of like, and even more people being on, and this is an example from the Best Friend cast where they talked about Final Fantasy 14. It's just how people play the game to have their version of fun. It's like the example was in WoW, there was an Ice Mage thing where you could make a build that was purely an Ice Mage.
Mm-hmm.
And in Final Fantasy 14, the way the mages work is that there's fire and there's ice. You use fire spells, which do a fuck ton of damage, but cost MP. And then once you're done with MP, you switch to your ice, which doesn't do a lot of damage, but will regenerate your MP. And Pat, one of the guys who plays it, was talking about how there are people who only use the ice magic. And then when you say, hey, why aren't you using your fire? They say, well, I'm an ice mage. And it's like, well, that's not a thing in this. You can't, that's not how that character is played.
This is about the time where you start using those rooms with the really descriptive descriptions.
Well, there is that. There is kind of that. For dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV, there's actually 3 terms you can put in front or behind, whatever the fuck. I don't know how it works. You can either put learning, clear, or I guess grind. I don't know.
Okay.
It's the different versions of the dungeon. Of learning is like, well, we're coming in here to spend a couple hours to learn the dungeon. Clear is like, all right, we're in this and we're in it to win because we know what we're doing.
Mm.
And then the grind one, it's not actually grind. I forget what it is. Oh, it's farm. It's farm. That's it. That's the term. Farm. You're in it. You know the shit like the back of your fucking hand, and you're in it to get the shit.
Okay.
And then when a scrub shows up in farm, they're fucking it up because they don't know what they're doing. But it's like, I just wanna do the dungeon and have fun. It's like, no, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I think we pretty fairly covered that.
I don't think we fairly covered it.
Just like whether or not you gotta play for fun, you know, like we're gonna have to paint this in some pretty broad strokes without examples.
Well, the thing is, like, sometimes you have to hold that L and say, my fun is not above the 5 other people in this group. Me saying I just want to shoot,
right.
I just want to shoot my guns and be dumb, isn't worth these 4 or 5 people having to deal with me. But people don't think like that, and they'll be a fucking shitbird.
I mean, it's like with that, it sounds like that you're like giving up something, but you're not giving up something by leaving the room and entering maybe another room where somebody doesn't give a shit. You know?
It's just more. It's not fair to the people who.
There's like bots for a reason too.
Well, not in
not
Overwatch.
saying that bots are better, but not in Overwatch, I guess. But you know,
Not in anything. I don't think bots replace you if you ever leave in a lot of stuff.
Mm.
It's more of just like you've lost a teammate, and it's like you're also not having fun anymore because you had to leave.
Right.
But like forcing 4 or 5 other people to then deal with you, only to leave immediately after they lose, because you.
Mm.
It also, I think, will hurt way more than actually just leaving of your own volition.
Yeah. Like to have responsible fun. You know, you gotta keep in mind other people's fun.
That's the worst thing ever. Having fun responsibly, it's like the worst thing ever. Because you have to. At this point, you have to. And in a world where like a majority of new popular games are team based, sometimes you gotta say, I have to leave.
Respect people, you get respect back, and respect feels pretty good.
It does.
You can have fun with respect with other people.
You can have fun with respect.
I mean, you can also have fun, you know, being like a shit too, but you know.
Yeah, but if you're doing it on purpose, that's different.
Yeah.
If you're doing it just because you're bad, then ooh, no.
And expect eventual trouble in your future. You won't have a very long,
You won't have a long career in this game if everyone
long.
shits on you. If you are a known piece of shit. Like cheaters. And how they feel about things.
Are you leading this somewhere?
Oh, I'm leading. I segued into the next topic of the cheating mentality.
Okay. What are we calling this?
Well, it's the cheating mentality.
Well, cheating mentality. All right.
It's like
describe it to me.
The thing is, Andres, when you hear about people who get caught cheating, what do you think? How do you think they react?
They're either gonna own up to it because you know they get caught a lot. You know, it's just sort of like they got caught cheating.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they know what they did was wrong, but you know, it's like it's not gonna really affect them too much if they got caught because they know consequences are coming. They're gonna cheat again. But it's like who gives a shit about freaking out about I got caught cheating? So what? I got caught cheating. Next time around, or next thing that I like move to, it's fine. And then you got people who they'll genuinely defend it to the end because it's like it doesn't matter if I cheat because it's like whatever I do, that's fine. That's just how I do things.
It's how I want to have fun.
And like people, they can deal with it because like either they can cheat better or it's just whatever because I gotta have fun when I cheat.
So Andres, which of those two mentalities do you think is the most vocal?
Probably the second.
Probably the second?
Yeah, because
sir, you would be correct. Because this is late, but I think it's still really funny to talk about. So with Overwatch on August 1st or whenever there was a huge ban wave.
I think you discussed this with me
Oh, well,
before,
we're talking about it again because it's awesome. So when the ban wave happened of Overwatch players, well, actually, I don't think we talked about it. I think I showed you like a podcast clip where people talked about it. It was people getting like upset at Blizzard for banning them because they were cheating, and their excuses were like, "Well, I bought the game, I should be given another chance." It's like, well, no, you cheated.
Like, I really don't feel like your attitude affects, like how, like what happens to you with your ban.
Yeah, you mean, well,
like,
the thing is, with Overwatch, they're fucking cracking the fuck down because it's not like your account gets banned. They ban you to your hardware, to where the only way you can play on PC again is to get a new piece of hardware in your PC.
And that's not feasible unless you're like...
Well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think you have to buy another copy of the game.
You probably will, because you probably can't share across libraries.
Well, I mean...
Well,
yeah.
maybe. But
don't get your friend banned.
Yeah.
And it's just this idea of like...
All those posts being like, my dad's going to kill me. I was playing a game.
No, my brother's going to kill me. My brother's going to kill me. I got banned. And it's like, well... Sorry to hear that. You shouldn't have fucking cheated.
Like, you also gotta consider like the direction games are going. Yeah, I don't play too many games, but I'm pretty sure it's fair to say this much. It's like people are gonna say we need to add balance to this game. We need to make sure this person has more power, less power. It's something that matters to like the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
So basically, you are affecting the game itself when you cheat. You aren't just cheating the other players over. You're breaking the game, basically.
You are being a piece of shit and ruining the fun of other people. So much more than just being bad, you are actively taking away the experience of other people.
I feel like that undersells it because it's like the the product itself is being changed.
Oh yeah.
The product that they're like providing the people, because people, they gotta get on a server, they gotta show up in like a space that they create, and it's just like it's not like you're playing a game of chess and somebody puts a piece like on the board that it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody just drops the queen on there. It's just like. It's like they literally break the board like in half, so that way they can shift one half in front of the other and just be like, pound move.
Just fuck you.
It's like, it's completely legal though, yeah? No, it's not. Because
it's
like, you changed the game. People didn't want that much power behind somebody's like shot.
If you're not gonna get good enough at the game, you shouldn't play it to this level.
Well, yeah, to this level. Sort of like how we were saying, like about like when you're having fun with a game,
Yeah.
You gotta decide how you're having fun with it. Are you having fun with other people?
You have to decide where you have to have fun.
Yeah, are you doing it without a plan?
Like what mode are you playing in to where you can have the most enjoyable time?
And I'm gonna say, like if you're already this serious about thinking about how you're gonna have fun,
yeah,
you're probably just gonna have to go on ahead and you're gonna have to regard the other people that just show up without a plan.
That's true.
Just be like, all right, well, I'll just have to leave.
You have to accommodate sometimes.
Yeah, you have to accommodate sometimes.
Because for good or bad, either you leave or you like accommodate with the rest of your team. Like you communicate.
Yeah, because sometimes like you just build off better like that. Sometimes you'll find that this fresh start, this works. It just works.
It works
because it's like you don't want to drop something. It just feels like you're giving something up, but you're not. Well, if anything, you're just getting another perspective about it,
and you're making some friends. You know what? They people respect that.
Plenty of respect for that.
Oh yeah, plenty of respect. But on the bigger part of cheating, it's like my bigger thing is like in fighting games specifically collusion. You know collusion?
I know what collusion means, but I don't know what collusion in this context is supposed to be.
Oh, okay. So, collusion in like a fighting game sense is like, it happened a while. This is fairly old, like really old, and the player who like was a part of it like kind of reset himself and like is a lot better now. But there was a Marvel tournament where the first and the second place people, like the two dudes on the stage playing,
Right.
made an agreement where they were just like, whoever wins, we're gonna split the pot, and we're just gonna take. I'm gonna take my placement, and you're gonna take your placement, and I'm gonna give you a cut of the first place money of the grand prize.
I don't really have too much of a problem with that. Like,
Really?
Like, all right. So unless there's like any kind of system behind it where it's just like, hey, I can choose who my opponents are. You know, maybe I'll have a little bit more of a problem with that.
It ruins the competitive spirit when you and the guy you're playing against say,
Maybe not.
it doesn't matter who wins because we'll split the money.
Maybe not between those two, because it's like we also got to remember, you know, it's like some people find like more competitiveness more fun because like you have a tournament, you're expecting everybody to be fairly competitive,
Yeah.
but it's like maybe some people they're just like, hey, after this, you know, it's like we just kind of want to have like a good friendly agreement with it, you know, just.
Well,
They're not, like,
that
in the
mentality
moment.
is for when you're either knocked out of the tournament and playing casuals, or in your like your hotel room where you're playing with your friends.
I mean, it's
For
like
a tournament where it
I
is
can't say that
specifically competitive.
I can't see the mechanic though, where it's like you're screwing another player over. That's kind of where the thing is, because it's like if you got two people that are really good and they're collaborating to make sure that all the other players kind of get knocked out, you know, just sort of like, hey, you know, it's like I can be in this bracket, you can be in that bracket, if they can choose that somehow one way or another.
It's not that. It's they play competitively to all their other players, and they get to grand finals, and the two people playing look at each other and say, we'll just split the money, so let's not be serious. That's scummy. And that's bullshit.
I mean, it's like when you say like let's not play to be serious. It's like
That's what happened. The two people playing at this tournament didn't.
Nobody agreed to like take a fall or anything like that, though. So
Well, no,
I can't
but
really
it's
say
like-
it's rigged either. You know.
It kind of is, because it doesn't matter who won. There was no competitive spirit to the match. It was the idea of they were only playing for the money. They weren't playing for like the pride of it or like the bragging rights of like, yeah, I won the tournament. It was, I don't give a shit about the mentality, I just want the money.
Like I still can't regard that as cheating because it's like the
Well,
mentality.
it's not cheating.
mentality's
It's
in-
not cheating.
Okay.
It's just like, it's kind of bullshit. To where you're trying to like, as a spectator, if you paid money to be at the venue to watch like a really competitive match where it's like it's for real, and they are playing and they're like they really want to win, and then you watch fucking garbage as they don't care. It's kind of like this weird mentality of like personally of like, well, they just kind of shat on what I wanted to watch. They're not taking into account like the viewership of it.
Okay.
They're
okay.
just they're being a little too selfish.
I can see how that is. It's like I guess you can say that that's maybe not professional.
It's unprofessional.
It's unprofessional. Okay, maybe we can get to like an agreement with that because I mean it's just like I'm not gonna say you shouldn't have fun when you're playing a game. It should only be competitive spirit. But I can see where it comes into that where it's like you have a place where you gotta be in it to win it, and like if it was just like, hey, you know, whoever wins will split the money, and they can still keep that competitive spirit, you know, like kudos to you, you know.
Well, the great thing with like the fighting game stuff is like at Evo. Whenever I watch top 8s and stuff, it's generally the same people. Like a lot of the same people will make top 8 consistently at the World Fighting Game Tournament. So at this point, you can assume all of these people know each other, and they're friends off of the stage. But when they're on the stage, they want to beat each other's ass, and they want to win, and they want to be able to look at the dude and say, yeah, I beat you for the first time after like 10 matches. Like, I beat you at the point where it mattered. yeah, you beat me in casuals, but I got the first 3.
Okay.
And it's like that's. I think there needs to be like kind of like a mental switch where you can say, I'm having like what's more important, the fun or the competitiveness. And in a tournament, the competitive spirit of it should be over your fun. Unless it's like being competitive is fun to you, then by all means go to tournaments and like be hyper competitive.
I don't feel like anyone should really disagree with like saying, hey, if I'm competitive, I'm not having any fun whatsoever either. So
You gotta enjoy the game. You gotta enjoy what you're doing.
It's like a switch in mentality. It's like you're not making any concessions. You're just like, okay, I gotta get into this sort of mind state. I gotta get into a mind state, and I gotta like hold that.
Well, that's the weird thing when you get to like sponsored players, because it's like, well, this is their job, and there's like a really weird pressure of having to perform well consistently to keep this job. But for a lot of people, it's like, I want to get sponsored so I can do the thing I love and am good at all the time. Like, dude, if I could play Street Fighter like as a pro and I'm sponsored, I wouldn't care how much like what they tell me, because it's like I want to play the game and I want to do well for myself. I may wear the jersey, but I'm not playing for them. I'm
okay.
Yeah, Evil Geniuses gave me the shirt, but I put my own personal mentality above the company.
Okay.
In terms of like what I want to do.
Well, I mean, if you got direction, I gotta respect you. I gotta respect you for direction.
But it's just more of like, a lot of people don't look at it that way, and like kind of. There was a player named Flo. He used to be a part of Evil Geniuses.
Okay.
So he kind of like, he decided like to do it himself. He kind of like went personal.
Yeah.
Like he streams now. He does a bunch of. He's popular. He does his own stuff, and he's a really nice guy, from what I've seen, because I've never met the dude. But it's more of like, when he talked about it, he just kind of said like, it felt more like a job than it felt like I was playing the game. Which I can understand, because he was sponsored by a really big company. So there was probably like a really big push by the company to like, why aren't you making top 8? Like micromanagement.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of like a bummer if they do that, because it'll push players away.
Okay. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that too. I mean, like, if that's like all that we're really going around for, like collusion, like I think that's
well. We got off. I got off on the tangent of collusion.
Well,
but it's like
yeah.
Collusion is just like, it's more about taking away the spirit of it, which is what fighting game, like the fighting game mentality is more about the spirit of it than anything else, because there's a lot of money in it.
Okay.
But there's not as much money as like Call of Duty.
Maybe part of it would be, like on the sponsors and the tournaments have to, like set up the spirit, because if you can't get the people into the mood of it,
Yeah.
and then you can't get your your competitors into actually wanting to do something, because I imagine that it's like people out there, you guys have probably had experiences where you were in like middle school, high school, and they like you were forced into like doing something for a class,
Yeah.
where it's just like, hey, we're all going to get together as a school and we're going to all make this thing happen. It just doesn't happen. We don't talk about like that sort of spirit, because that spirit either really doesn't exist or you just don't identify with that sort of a spirit.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like either you got to blame the individual, which you got some individuals that don't really care about like winning the money.
Yeah.
Which you have that example.
Yeah.
But then you also have like the individuals who just can't get invested with it, because it's like there's nothing really brought to the table. Like, all right, so I'm gonna say like video game tournaments, like maybe nothing too new was introduced.
Yeah.
Like you've seen the game before. Maybe people have played the game like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And it's just like they know exactly what to expect from it. There's no previews from the companies that make these games for like any kinds of future things. No kind of investment where it's just like.
What do you
reach
mean
into that.
exactly? What do you mean exactly?
Where it's just sort of like I would kind of guess that part of like when you see somebody that plays a tournament, it's like they aren't just competitors; they're future customers of these businesses that create these games. So maybe giving them
Well,
a little.
because they compete in them is what you're saying. Like they're invested.
It's like, all right, so basically, like if you're like a business or something, everybody's your customer, all right?
Yeah.
Everybody's a potential customer.
Okay. Yeah.
But then you got some customers who probably have a little bit more value in their opinion than others, you know? Like you got the connoisseur, and then you got the, like...
you have the average Joe to the pro
the
player.
average Joe to the pro player.
Okay.
Maybe the pro player has like a better eye for something, being like, hey, this isn't balanced at all. Go on ahead and fix it,
Okay.
So maybe if you gave like competitive players like maybe a little bit more of a voice to these businesses, which they're trying to make money, but at the exact same time, they would probably figure there's plenty of things to like benefit from, and maybe a little bit more of an incentive
Yeah.
for these players to be like, hey, I had an impact on this thing because I was able to make a change with my opinion.
The cool thing is like there are some players and some people who are involved in the fighting game community who then go on to work for the companies. Like there's two guys for a big example. The one guy's named Combo Fiend, and the other's Seth Killian. Combo Fiend works for Capcom and like does stuff with them. And the other guy, Seth Killian, he just a fucking jack of all trades, bunch of stuff for Capcom as well. Like he was a special guest advisor on the Street Fighter 4 game, like in its entirety. And they had a fair amount of input for a lot of fighting game stuff. Like I'm pretty sure Combo Fiend like interacts with a lot of like pro players or like big names in the scene, and interacts with them to like help get their input and stuff. But a lot of the times, I think it's more of like a lot of people probably just want to play the game competitively, and whatever the company decides, they just kind of deal with and learn to get over.
Sure. But I mean, it's like, I guess part of it would have to be too, it's just like, if you want to be a winner, you want to have like a voice in the community of whatever it is that you're just doing. Like either you genuinely enjoy the game to the point of being like, hey, I just want to be the best because I want to be the best.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I want to be the best because it's just like, I would love to have my name out there, to have other people in my community just be able to look and hear my opinion about things.
I want to be noticed.
Yeah.
Okay, I say that, but that sounds really.
That sounds a lot neater.
It sounds like they're jerking themselves off at that point of like, I want to be noticed by everybody, but I don't think. And I think I know what you're saying, and I when I said that kind of like misrepresented it. It's more of like, it's not so much I want to be noticed so much as like.
Well, like I'm the optimist in this situation. Whenever I hear somebody say something like that, I'm not going to like immediately assume the worst of I want to be noticed.
Yeah.
Being noticed can be a good thing.
Yeah.
It can be a good thing.
It's just like maybe it's more of like they want to be a figure in the community. When they say the word Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I want them to be able to go to YouTube and learn something from how they play. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, they want to like say something.
They want to learn from it.
Yeah, they want to learn from it. They want to say something, but they don't want to be vocal. Maybe it's like, because there's a difference between just wanting to be vocal, where it's just like, hey, I get to give my opinion every week on something,
rather than like being vocal through your playstyle.
Yeah.
Being influential through your playstyle.
Yeah.
Because I definitely can understand that from watching a lot of Marvel and Street Fighter, where it's like I watch how one person plays and it's like, okay, I want to play that character like that because that's sick.
And it's pretty tempting to just be vocal rather than to say something.
I understand that. Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense to me. Oh man, fucking collusion though. Well, the funny thing with that collusion story I was talking about, it's the example I was giving. The two people weren't playing seriously and just kind of fucking around on stage, and the dude running the stream, who was like a well-known person who like this dude, like his name is his name in like as is known is Spooky. He runs the Team Spooky stream, which does like all of like the fighting game shit. Like he travels to stream fighting game stuff, and it's really cool, and he does a really good job and has a really great stream. And he went out. Like, he got off the mic to then approach the stage to tell the people on stage who weren't playing seriously, like, if you're not going to play for real, get the fuck off the stage and leave. Because that's not what people are here to see, either in the venue or on the stream.
It's unfortunate, but, the dude, he'd probably have to end up cutting the stream, if they aren't doing what they're, what their audience wants to see.
And it was, to me, that was a very respectable thing to do, because it's like,
he was being a voice for like the community that wasn't there. Because like a majority of the people who view tournaments don't go to the events because it's expensive.
This really got me to thinking, like,
Yeah.
like, just the other side of the argument, it's just like, you can play and not necessarily have fun, because it's like,
Yeah.
I definitely would have said, one way or the around, just being like, collusion really isn't too much of an issue, but then, yeah.
Not anymore.
Well.
Not anymore.
Mm.
I don't think it's brought up too much, so much as like
Yeah.
small time cheating.
But it happens, and when it
Yeah.
happens, that's pretty
It
unfortunate.
sucks. Well, the issue with collusion is that like collusion is so much harder to catch because, I mean, like you talk to the dude who's about to go on stage as you're going up there and like, just want to fucking play for real, then split the money. Like, you can say collusion happens now, and it's just impossible to catch because you can just trade money outside of it,
Yeah.
But like, there are like, when the PS4 first came out and Street Fighter V was like, when that was still new,
Right.
and a lot of people, like, I bought a PS4 because I wanted to play Street Fighter V.
Hmm.
I need to find my fucking copy of it somewhere. But I mean, Street Fighter V was really fun, but dude, the PS4 system is so confusing with this controller layout because I'm still new to it. Like, at a tournament, what had happened was a dude, like, there was a time where people wouldn't disconnect their controller because they're all wireless.
Yeah.
So you plug it in, the controller like keeps it on there, and then in the system it remembers it. So what happened was someone was playing, and when he was losing, his friend who was also competing would turn his controller back on and pause the match. So it would have to be then restarted to give him another chance. And it's like, that's fucking disgusting.
That is cheating. That's like,
it's cheating.
We can't call that collusion because that is collusion.
I'm
but
switching.
that's
I'm
like,
switching to cheating because that's bullshit and shouldn't happen.
all right. So we got collusion, we got cheating, we have the colluding cheating.
We have the colluding cheating, yes, and that sucks. But I don't think it happens anymore because I think when you get off of the game,
Mm-hmm.
you have to then disconnect from the settings.
People wising up to the mechanics.
Yeah,
now,
people. Well, it's not so much people wising up so much as like tournament runners cracking down, because it's like, we want a legitimate tournament and we want to see fun. We don't want any of this pausing,
Okay.
because pausing ruins the game.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. Oh, Tara.
So what else we got?
Ow. Let me check my phone. Okay. I don't think we have a lot left. Oh yeah, we saved the best topic for last.
Okay.
You know what? Fuck Attack on Titan. We're not going to talk about Attack on Titan. Because you want to know why? We're going to talk about Ad Infinitum. The World War I horror game.
All right. So just basically all that I really know about it is the trailer. You gotta avoid things. You gotta use puzzles, and then eventually.
Is it puzzles?
There are going to be puzzles.
Well, okay, yeah, that
Which,
makes sense.
I mean,
You're not
that-
going to fight that thing.
Maybe you're going to fight that thing.
You're going to fight it at
Maybe.
the end. You're going to blow it up with a howitzer.
There's not enough details about it.
No.
All I know is that it is
It's got a
green.
sick logo.
It's greenlit. It's got a sick logo.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I want to say all we can really do is expect at this point, but it's just like, I like the idea where it's like, you gotta use the puzzles, you gotta run, because you can't just face things head on.
Dude, did you see that fucking thing? There's no way you don't want to fight that. That thing is fucking scary.
Yeah, there was something
It's
that there was
huge.
something that could stand over the trenches of World War One.
Like, I
And
think-
if you think about how big the trenches are,
Well,
it's like,
my question is more of like,
that's gotta be over 10 feet tall.
oh, it's huge. It's gotta be. It
It's
was
gotta be.
standing over the trenches.
It can see you while you're running through the maze like
That's
a rat.
scary. That's scary. But more than that, my main question is like,
That's some Baltimore shit right there.
fucking Baltimore.
You know about that?
Project Manhattan.
No, Baltimore. It was like
I
a
know.
comic series where basically this guy becomes a vampire hunter because he encounters some vampires during like the trenches
Blade?
of World War One. Not really.
No, I'm just fucking with you. Yeah, I know.
Like I read some of it like a couple of years ago. Maybe I'll get back to reading it again. It's like it was some pretty good stuff.
Well, my question is like, what is the lore of this monster going to be? Because, I mean, I don't think there was, like, World War One. Sure, there was some shit. I don't think there was anything to the extent of, like, there being ideas of monsters on the battlefield other than, like, the other side. You know?
I mean, I imagine that it's like,
Plus, that monster was very detailed in its design. Like, over 10 feet tall, it had abdomen arms.
alright, so basically, if we realize with like the definition for ad infinitum plus, the symbol that we have, it basically just means to infinity or forevermore. So maybe it's
But
supposed
what
to
does
be
it
like,
mean?
well, we gotta consider, this is things like a monster on a battlefield.
I just
When
want
a
to know about the
battlefield,
monster.
in a battlefield, you're gonna have dead people, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if a monster shows up, maybe you gotta ask the question, are these people gonna be noticed as something missing? Because people are gonna die during war. War is fucking terrible.
But the way it's represented, it seems like you're the only one there. Like the monster fucked everybody up.
That kind of is what it was with like the trailer. But we also gotta remember, there was nobody there, as in there was no bodies there either.
Oh yeah. Well. Yeah, that's just weird. That game looks really good. I'm really excited.
We should play that.
Yeah, we should play that when it comes out. We should start doing like streams too. Like,
We'll try.
yeah,
We'll try. It's on PC, right?
it got greenlit on Steam, so it's gotta be a PC game soon.
Well, yeah. Do you know if it's gonna take into consoles?
I imagine so. Like maybe
it's just because consoles are kind of easier to stream from at this point because there's built-in streaming.
I gotcha.
It's less setup and less work.
Mm.
It probably doesn't look as good, but hey, it does the job. Like, I'm just curious about like the idea, like where they got the idea for the monster from. I really want to like look that up, because it looked way too like specific in design. Maybe the dude who made it was fucking crazy. I don't know, but it looked really interesting from like a design perspective.
Would you like compare it to any kind of lore that you already know now? Because I mean, it's just like we got
In terms of monsters?
yeah, in terms of monsters, because it's like a really tall.
It
dude.
looks like something from The Thing.
I feel like the thing was too much of an amalgam.
That
so
makes
it's just
sense.
like
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like something like this. It's just like it feels a little stereotypical in terms of nightmares because it's like it's something tall, it's something pale. But I mean, I guess it's something that we could expect biologically, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if they're gonna go towards it's like the other side engineered this sort of thing and dropped on you, or if it's like, well, it says ad infinitum, so it's like forevermore. So maybe it's something like from the beginning of time, and now war's happening. People are gonna die, and nobody's gonna miss them. Nobody's gonna miss the soldiers,
We're probably
It's like-
digging really into it in terms of like it's just the name gives us like nothing to go off of.
The logo, though. The logo does give
The
us a little bit of
logo?
something.
Well, it was
it's
a
like a-
spine and a skull.
It was a spine and a skull, and it's got like the
Wrapped
Ouroboros,
around-
like...
Yeah, it was wrapped around itself. It'll probably say something in the game. I hope it does, because I really would like a story behind it. But I mean, there's a lot of horror games that have come out recently that are like really well done in terms of what it's presenting.
Mm.
Like Soma.
Soma?
It's a horror game, kind of.
Mm,
You don't know about it?
well, like you said, dude, I don't play too many games.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been busy.
Soma is a really interesting thing of like, well, because it's a horror game where the ending is like happy, but not for you. Which I know sounds weird, but it's like, so the idea of Soma is like it jumps into the future after everything gets kind of fucked up on the surface. Like it's completely underwater. The game takes place under the ocean or in the
Okay.
ocean, like deep.
Mhm.
And the point is like, so your characters, like the whole deal of the game is like the mechanic that like leads into story is you switching your consciousness into other bodies to then be able to traverse new areas. And at the end of the game, you and another character who you've been talking to on a comm are like, okay, so this station is gonna go like dark soon. So what we need to do is we need to take our consciousness
upload it into 2 dummies on this like underwater rocket that's gonna shoot into the atmosphere, like escape the planet basically. And what happens is you put your consciousness on there and it's uploaded onto the dummies and the rocket shoots off. And the whole time the person you're talking to is like, don't worry, when it fully uploads and it shoots out, we're gonna be there. Like, from your eyes, you're gonna be on that ship. And then it doesn't happen. And your character's like, well, what's going on? I thought we did it. We did it, right? Like, it worked. And she's like, yeah, it worked. Where our consciousness is up there and they're just living their life. And it's like, your character just says, but I'm not there. And it's like, no, you are. You are there.
So it's that sort of shit. It's that sort of shit that they worry
And
about,
he's-
like Ajin. Like,
It's a weird thing of like clones, but purely on the consciousness level. Where it's like, I want to survive though, me. And it's like, but you did. You are up there. And it's like, no, but that's not me. You know, like it sounds confusing, but that's the only way to explain it.
no. I've seen this content before.
I'm
pretty
just
sure
saying it
people-
could be confusing for whoever the fuck is even
Yeah.
listening to this deep in. But it's like, I like that idea because your character gets really upset. Because it's like, no, I want to fucking survive. I don't care. And she's like, but oh, it doesn't matter. We both lost the coin toss. It was a 50-50 shot and it came up heads. We fucked up. And then the whole station goes dark and your character's left alone. And it's like, oh, this is depressing.
That is
Go watch a playthrough of
depressing.
Soma. It's really good. There's a couple endings too. There's like different ones. I need to go look at them because it's been a while. Speaking of it's been a while, I think we're done. It's almost been 2 hours on this.
Ooh. Yeah, we took some time on this.
Well, it was fun. These conversations
Yeah,
are good.
definitely.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna sign out.
All right then. Have a nice day, night, guys.
Good one, Andres. Just say bye.
All right. Bye.
This is the conclusion of Plot Device, episode 3. Bye.